Welcome to Loan Officer Success Live, sponsored by Premier Lending, the show where the mortgage industry's top players pull back the curtain. Your host, Devin Dubuque, sits down with industry leaders, top producers, and game-changing mortgage tech innovators, all sharing their unfiltered strategies, bold ideas, and proven secrets for success. Get ready to take notes, think bigger, and play to win, because this is Loan Officer Success Live. All right, I had it playing in my background and it was throwing me off, but you know what? It's the Christmas episode. I've got Dionne Bass here with me today. It is that time. We're going to ask Chris, she's going to be giving gifts today, all kinds of amazing nuggets. So Merry Christmas, everybody. We're a week before Christmas. It's Friday, the 19th. And man, Dionne, I get to see you every single day on the LOS.Live show. Now here we are spreading joy and cheer for everyone to hear. So welcome back to the show and welcome Dionne to LOS.Live.
I'm so excited. I just want to say that intro was like, wow. Those were some really big names in there. Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it.
Well, like I said, I get to see you almost every day. We do go to the LOS.Live show. In fact, I think I've got a banner I could run across for that. And that is, I think we changed the time, so this will have the wrong times on there. It's now 9 a.m. Eastern and 8 a.m. Central. But the LOS.Live show, we camp out on there every day and just level up. We get to hang out with really cool people and, learn what's actually working in the industry. And that's how you and I got connected. Was through our good friend Scotty Hudspeth at the LOS.Live show. And, I've heard you talk a lot on the show about how you're helping scale people and how you're helping, teams learn how to win the market and provide better service for their consumers with quicker approvals, less conditioning, and, the training of the processing teams just to get aligned with the underwriting staff. And I was like, man, we got to get you over here. In fact, I'm a firm believer of practice what you preach. And I know we're working on a deal right now where you're going to come in and actually work with our processing teams, to help them learn more about how to scale and communicate with underwriting, right?
I'm so excited about that. Thank you for confirming that. I cannot wait.
You got it live right here on the show.
Yes. I do want to say this, originators too, because my
That's
philosophy,
right.
It starts with the prospect. It starts with the prospect, which means that it starts with the originator. So all of us need to learn how to communicate with the underwriter and, more importantly, with each other.
Well, I love that you said that. And it's one of my first questions that I'm going to lead into is very close to that. But one of the things that I want to ask you, and this is something I love to ask my guests, right? If you took a time machine back to when you were first starting in our industry and, this happened and you're like, this is it. Like, this is what I'm meant to do. Like, and that could be because I know, you've underwritten, but then you talked about this before. There was a moment in your career where you're like, no, I need to be doing this instead, right? But whatever that is for you, what was that moment that you felt like this is the industry I need to be in, and this is why?
Like, so many moments just kind of like blasted through my mind right now. If I had to think about it, if I had to go back, it's been 30 years this year, Devlin. First of all, we say that. This is the 30th year right here that I've been in the mortgage industry. If I had to pick one moment, it probably would be when the owner of the company that I was working with, I joke with him all the time. His name is Derek Covington. I wanted to be in the room where the processors were. So I was in the marketing room where the telemarketers were, and I was running that room.
Okay.
But I wanted to be in the cool room where the processors were. And he was like, I can't let you leave this room until you duplicate yourself. I need you to find, another you. Well, it just so happened I was in college. I went to go find 6 of me. Okay. I filled that room up with a whole process, with a whole telemarketing team. And then I went over process. I scaled it. I created a training program. And then when I went over to the processing room, that's when I discovered that they needed training too when I got to a different office. And so for me, it was this industry is not as complicated as we make it to be. So
Amen.
not only do I want to be in this industry, but I want to let people know that it's not that hard and it's a great way to make a wonderful living. Because I know that I look super young, but I'm 50 years old. So that would have put me at about 19, 20 years old when I got into the industry.
Wow.
It
Yeah, I
gave
would have
me,
never guessed 50. I'm 49. And so,
yeah, I'm
and,
50 years old.
and I've been
So
in the industry for 23 years. So you've got 7 on me. I can't imagine, getting started at 19 and then all the
night,
people that you've helped, see their full potential over the years. And that leads me into the next question. And that's, what's the one thing that you wish every loan officer knew about structuring a file?
this is going to be really funny because I know what you think I'm going to say, the application, right? And it's not. What I'm going to say is it shouldn't be on the application if you don't have documentation for it.
Mm,
I come from a time, man, I'm going to date myself. I don't even know if you were around then, Devin. You know that the application used to be a triplicate, right?
I do. Yeah, I do. I was not around, just full disclosure, but I'm very familiar because I've got some of my mentors that worked in the industry in that era, right?
Yeah. And so those of you who don't know what a triplicate is, there was one document on top, this thing that you write on that duplicates it. I don't even know what you call that, Devin. I got to go do some research after I get off this call. And so it was handwritten. Here's the thing about the handwritten application. Which what they ended up doing was taking the application and having them sign too. I know
Mm.
I'm probably getting people in trouble. Thank God there was no compliance back then, not like that. And so what you would do is you had a handwritten application and a typed application. We ended up rewriting those handwritten ones with the correct information. Why? Because what the borrower is thinking is not necessarily what is the truth.
That's
It's not
right.
what it is. So it's not about a full application. It is an application that you can document. So if I had to give a originator, which I have, advice, I would say don't look at the application to complete it. Look at the application to verify it.
Mm, I like that. I like that. Well, and we've talked on other calls, and one of the things you talk about as well is don't put too much there as well. Don't give more than you need. And I've heard you talk about that because a lot of the times, we will put more in the file than the underwriter necessarily needs to see. And the way I always like to envision this is now we've opened up Pandora's box, right? And once it's been seen, it can't be unseen. And this doesn't mean don't document your files. We want to document the file, but if we know based off of the guidelines that this particular thing isn't necessarily required, don't put it there, right?
Yeah, look, let's go here and piggybacking off of that. It has nothing to do with hiding information. It has everything to do with going down a rabbit hole
Mhm.
that is going to cost you time. It's not going to lead anywhere. You still get to close the loan, but now you're closing it 5 to 6 days late
Yeah.
because you went somewhere that you should have never gone and had nothing to do with the loan or with the borrower's, you know what I'm saying, path in which they were going.
Yeah. I get it. Well, that again, that leads me to another question, which are what are the top 3 mistakes that you see originators and processors make that lead to more conditions?
Not reading a credit report. Like I said, everybody always thinks the application. No, the application houses the information. Make sense? So
Yeah.
no one's reading a credit report. I give great tips in my training on how to review a credit report. And I
Mm.
need you to look at the credit report from the rooter to the tutor, not just the first page and look at the scores. Um, the second mistake, they don't read the AUS findings.
Mm.
The AUS findings tell you everything. I
Yeah.
just taught a USDA class yesterday, and I taught an underwriter. it was a joy to teach her because number one, I love USDA loans, and two, her and I were in the industry almost as long as each other. And so we were able to identify so many really cool things. One thing
Yeah,
about USDA is that they spell everything out on their findings.
they do.
Excuse me.
And they also don't call them DU and LP. It's a
Yeah,
whole different system, believe it
whole
or
different
not.
system.
Good old Gus, our buddy Gus over there at the USDA.
And it's friendly. It is so friendly.
It is.
One more tip about AUS finance. I promise you can, and I'll get to the third one. Um, you, everybody's pulling dual now. They pull LP and they pull DU at the exact same time. What I always tell people is that even if you're not going to use LPA, I said LP, I'm really dating myself. If you're not going to use LPA, not going to use Loan Prospect or Freddie Mac, still read Fannie because Fannie talks a lot. She's going to
Yeah.
tell you everything that you didn't do right or that's wrong inside the file. The third thing that I think that people do, or that one of their mistakes is, it's going to be a hard one to swallow.
Mm.
You will never be able to find the magic number as far as income calculation. You'll never listen. If you get it, it's because it was just a regular borrower that worked 80 hours a week, 40 hours a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Those are really simple. But when you're dealing with those kind of like hard ones,
that's right.
stop going for an exact number. Go for a neighborhood, a conservative neighborhood,
Yeah.
and just make sure that you're reviewing those pay stubs.
Well, I think
Because
you touched on something right there, and that was the word conservative. You know, a
yes,
lot of the times we try to just stretch that thing out, right? And it's like, I need every penny of this. And man, I hope, because I'm living on hopium, that when my underwriter gets it, she doesn't change anything with this income, right? And realistically, unless we're going to send it over for a pre-underwrite before we qualify that client and put them out there in the marketplace, we need to take a little bit more conservative approach as to what we're going to utilize for that income. Because if they're not qualifying on the conservative approach and you need every penny, man, we need to make sure we put some stipulations on that file. We need to make sure that the real estate agent and the client knows where the thresholds are. And more importantly, and I think most importantly, it has to go in for that TBD approval. So the underwriter can put their eyes on the income and do a full evaluation so that we're sending that client out there with a truly qualified file where they can stand behind it and know when they put that offer in and it goes back to underwriting. Now that we have a property, the income has already been reviewed and it's already been accepted. What's your thoughts on that?
I agree totally, especially if you have someone that is actually pre-qualifying the loan before they send it to the underwriter. And let me
Yeah,
explain why. As a past underwriter, you can imagine how many TBD files come through. Think about it. Not many lenders do those.
mm,
Maybe on the retail side, but a lot of my people are from the wholesale side. And everybody doesn't do TBDs. And so what ends up happening is
that's
we
true.
flood them with all of these TBDs because we're just throwing it. If you're going to actually review your documentation and you're just getting a second look, that's fine. That's a quick underwrite. Everything's there. But if you're just like, here you go, no, they're going to stop doing TBDs on the wholesale side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
If you just keep throwing them garbage and throwing them garbage and throwing them garbage.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um, you have to learn how to pre-qualify your loans. There's no shortcut to that. You have to be able to talk to your referral partners. You need to be able to talk to your borrowers, and you need to be able to talk to your processor and your loan partners. But if you don't actually know how to pre-qualify the loan, then really and truly, are you guys talking or arguing and pointing fingers?
Yeah. Well, I think what you're talking about is communication, right? Communication
Yes.
is key, and making sure that all parties are aware of how this process needs to work to get that client from point A to point B. And when you have that type of symmetry and everybody understands the role and how to communicate, not just with each other, but also with the consumer and with the agents, you're going to get that client to closing with confidence. And if there are red flags up front, everybody already knows and they're prepared for that as you go down that rabbit hole of approval, which leads me to another question. So how does an LO or a loan officer team, an origination team, right, Build a file that moves through underwriting with fewer touches.
Well, shameless plug. Use my workflow. I got a workflow sheet for that. No, but seriously, the way that you do it is, oh, who says this? I can't remember. Was it Wade or was it I don't know if it was Wade Wentz or if it was, I want to give people the proper credit. Or Irene Duford.
Love Irene. Sweat the process.
Same way
every time. Yep.
Listen, one of the things that the lady that I talked to yesterday, the underwriter, said, and we were just like having such a good time. We both agreed on one thing. You underwrite all loans the same. You apply different guidelines to them. The way you guys review files is the same every time.
It is.
There is an application. There is a credit report. There are income documents, no matter what they are. The income documents could be bank statements. The income documents could be a P&L worksheet. The income documents could just be 1099s. Do you see how I'm covering the non-QM side of it?
Or the DSCR program, right? Maybe it's the equity position in the property, right?
Yes, same way every time. Look at the application. You look at the credit report. You look at whatever income choo-choo train that they're using to get to that doggone end of the station. Yeah. And when you do that, it becomes second nature to you. That's Underwriters do not have a superpower. They are not genetically engineered to underwrite loans. The difference between them and you is that they've seen more situations than you. Think about the number of files I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, I've seen thousands.
Well, 3 decades worth of files is the best way to present that, because you've been doing this for 30 years. You know, when you're talking about this, it reminds me of a story when I first got in the industry back in 2002. And I was brand new, trying to figure this thing out. And I saw a lot of, processor frustration with the loan staff, right? We're not even talking about underwriting yet. We're talking about processing. And I was working with a broker shop back at that point in time. And I remember we had this processor. Her name was Nancy. I'm not going to throw her last name out there. We'll call her Nancy F, right? And she was a great processor, by the way. She was fantastic at what she did, but she was fed up with these crappy files that would come in from originators. And we had this guy running around the office, and he's like, "Where's my Bencomo file? Has anybody seen the Bencomo file?" Right? Well, finally, he opens the closet, and this file's sitting on the floor in the closet. And they just had enough because of how, crappy his files were. They literally just threw it in the closet on the floor, which I would never condone this, because obviously we've got clients attached to that file. But it was just the funniest thing, because he was putting together these rotten files. And I remember, I had one in with Nancy, and she threw it back at me, and she's just like, "This is garbage, like, don't do this." And I said, "Here's the deal, Nancy." I said, "I'm new to the business. And at the end of the day, there's not great training here," which, surprisingly enough, which is why we have you on the call right now, because it's what you do. You train people how to get better, right? Yeah. And I said, "I can tell you this much right now. I know you're the best processor we have. I see the business that you do." And I said, "If you just teach me one time, I promise you I will do it exactly that way every single time, because I want to take care of my clients. More importantly, I want to take care of you so that you love my files," right? And she could tell I was serious about it. And she took the time to teach me how to put together clean files. And guess what? My files always moved to the top of the stack. They always got processed quicker. We had less conditions. Our clients went to the closing table faster. So I'm a firm believer in everything that you're telling me. In my entire career, I've been educating my team members the exact same thing, which is, you never want the underwriter to pick up the red pen, right? We'll go back to grade school here, right? The teacher that picks up the green pen every time and puts the big smiley face at the top of it and hands you your paper back, they're looking for less mistakes, because you never gave them a reason to pick up the red pen. But if in that first walk through the file, within the first couple of pages, they go, "Ooh, red pen," now all of a sudden we're opening up a can of worms where we're looking for more and more and more mistakes, because we've already found them in the very basic fundamentals of the file, right? So I always say, don't give your underwriter a reason to pick up a red pen. And by the way, Quentin Tarantino makes great movies, but make sure your file isn't a Quentin Tarantino movie, because with the ends at the beginning and the middles at the end, guess what? That underwriter's not going to know how to work that file.
I am going to use that. That was great. Clinton Tarantino files. That's exactly what they are. And listen, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but please don't think that underwriters don't cherry pick just because they're
Mm,
digital. They know who you
mm.
are. They know, what your files look like, and your files will be done at the end of the day. And look, and you'll get an email at at 4:59 telling you that your file is suspended on a Friday because
Mm.
they're just not going to deal with it. Like, don't even make us do that. Like, come on.
Don't put yourself on the naughty list. It's
There's so many ways that you can communicate now.
yeah.
They've got like note sections. Hey, listen. I know that the income is a little bit squirrely. This is what we're trying to do. See, I don't want to start calling out lenders. Okay, because
don't
I don't
don't
want it
get
to be like
yourself in trouble.
I don't want it to be like a favoritism thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know what? When we were underwriting at certain companies, and the companies that I'm talking about, I don't know what I'm talking about. We had the counter offer.
Yeah.
So do you know what that means, Devlin? That means that there was no suspended files.
Yeah.
There was
You
no
were
denied
required
files.
to give them an alternative option that could get that
We,
file through.
that's an underwriter.
Mm.
I don't know how. I'm sorry. I gave you, listen, I can't do this, but this is what I can do.
Amen. Amen. You know, it's funny. It reminds me of those stories. So everybody's heard of Grant Cardone, right? 10X, right? We all know who that guy is. He used to be a car salesman. And what a lot of people don't realize is that car salesman from Houston, and he said, a lot of times he'd bring somebody in and they would have terrible credit, and the sales desk is saying, hey, this person doesn't qualify. And he's like, watch me, right? And he'd go back out. And this is the difference, because it was that he would present them an alternative option. Hey, great news. We got you ready to go. Here's your deal. We just need a check for $30,000. Now, what's crazy about that is some people go, oh, he doesn't have $30,000, right? You don't know. And more importantly, what do they have, right? So you're talking about the same thing here. Is a great underwriter is looking for an alternative that can work. And if they're presenting an option, even if it seems unrealistic, there's an option here, right? And you never know at the end of that rainbow what that client may or may not be able to do. And let me tell you something. If they want the house and there is a way to get there, wouldn't they be appreciative they knew how they could make that happen?
Wouldn't it be great if they didn't have to start from no, but start from what can I do? Because
Mm,
when you start them from it's suspended, your mind already shuts down. You already feel rejected.
that's right.
You already feel like no one's on your side. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? You already feel so you can't even think yourself out of that box.
that's it.
So that's why I like the counter offers. Now, let's just be 100% honest. Was it more work? Yes, it was definitely more work. But I understood what the company was doing. And, they did really good business. They did.
Yeah. Well, that made big sense. I'd want to work with somebody that doesn't say no. You're saying
Yeah.
there's a chance. And that's what I want, right? That's what I want. And so at the end of the day, we can't approve every file, but we can certainly look at opportunities that would allow for that to happen. And, underwriters that are out there listening, hey, maybe rethink that. Yeah, it wasn't qualified this way, but can it qualify another way? And if
Yeah.
it can, let's present that opportunity, because we're here to help serve people. That's
Yeah.
really what it's all about. And telling them no is not serving the people, right? Letting them know how, that's serving the people. So,
Yeah.
what are some of the small details that let you know as an underwriter this LO team knows what they're doing?
My favorite I used to call them love notes. My favorite was when the processors, and listen, I am not technologically, you already know, you heard me asking questions on MLO. I still to this day don't know how they do it, Devlin. Look,
Yeah.
you would get a PDF document, and the
Mm,
processor would leave these little comment boxes on so like you're
that's
like,
it.
what is that? Your mouse, and it'll pop up, and the processor will say, I'm aware that this is a large deposit. This, and that. Like you were just like, How cool is that?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you get a pay stub and the person writes out, what income that they came
How
at
they
or what
calculated it. Yeah.
how they
What their
calculated
method of
something like
calculation
that.
is.
You have to remember something. I don't know about you, Devlin, but when I was growing up, there was like about maybe two or three styles of pay stubs.
Hmm.
Now there's like 165.
That's it.
And they've got all different types of stuff and all different types of deductions and all different types of labels and stuff on them. And so you processors and you originators and you loan partners are there in the very beginning with that borrower. Please ask questions. What in the heck is a subject 76.5 regular pay? What does that mean? We don't know what that means. Find out what that stuff means. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there were processors that would have comments
Yeah.
on these documents that explained what it was. Listen, I use this income because I talked to the employer, and the employer said that those are the types of things that make the difference. Those are the types of processors and loan partners that you want to work with.
Yeah.
Ones that ask the questions. Do not wait for the underwriter to ask the
And
question.
provide the instructions, and
Yes,
provide the instructions. That goes back to, what we talked about before, which is, how to structure the file. And you don't want a Quentin Tarantino book for a file to be underwritten, right? Like, we love his movies, but for, when you're trying to put a loan together, you need instruction. And, again, if you do a great write-up that you can present to the underwriter, or even, put it right there on the document with the highlight through, PDF or through Word. You can do it through a number of different programs that give them the cliff notes as to how you came or derived to this, or the red flags that you're already aware of and how you've overcome them. It's going to give the underwriter a better opportunity to make sure that they give you an approval. And, I can tell you right now, I know this because I've seen it happen time and time again, where a loan officer gets a file back. They're like, it was in the file, where was it in the file? How was it documented? And how did they know that it tied to that thing? And that's what you're talking about with these love letters, because now it's, hey, I know that you're looking at this and you're scratching your head and saying this doesn't work, but here's what I provided to you to help you see how this actually does work. And instead of you having to play a scavenger hunt to figure out why that document's supposed to be linked to this explanation, let's just explain it and give it to the underwriter right away so they don't have to find it on their own.
absolutely. That was great. I wrote down Quentin Tarantino file and living off hopium. So,
I love it. I love it. Well, we always learn together, right? We always learn together. So, in our original call, and I don't know if you remember, you talked about processors following you around like a cult. What's the key to bridging the loan officer processor underwriter relationship and creating that synergy, right?
it's funny because I created Ask the Underwriter to bridge the gap between operations and sales. That's why it's called Ask the Underwriter,
Yeah.
not so that we can like ask questions, but because like you can, like we are open to communication. And the first thing that I believe that there has been a bridge that's been established between the lender and the underwriter and the salesperson and the processor, because now you guys do have access to the underwriters. When we were coming up, we didn't have access to them, and if we did, then they were cursing us out, like you said. They two, I believe that everybody needs to go back to training and development. I posted a video today. I wasn't going to post it, Devlin. I wasn't, but I said, you know what? This is real. I can't get any realer than this. If you want to be on the same page as your processor and your originator and your loan partner, if you want to be on the same page as your underwriter, if you want to close loans in a timely manner, you know what I mean? If you want to develop a great reputation, you have to stay in a training, development, a learning state of mind.
That's
If
right.
there's anything that we know about this industry is that it's constantly changing. We just got through talking about how pay stubs have changed.
Yeah.
So what that means is when you look at different pay stubs, you don't even know what you're looking at. Stay in a learning state of mind. That's how you bridge the gap. You bridge the gap because If you're in a willing state of mind, when we are communicating, you can be quiet and listen to see if either you just learned something or there's a misunderstanding.
Well, I love that
It's,
you said that, because at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer that we've always got to be educating ourselves because
mhm,
the world is constantly evolving and the industry is constantly evolving. And effectively, we're either staying in the same place or we're leveling up and getting better. And, we always seek the training, seek the knowledge, and it's out there. Whether it's a paid course or it's a podcast like the one that we're on right now, there are people out there right now that can give you more education that allows for you to perform better in whatever industry that you are in. I don't care if it's mortgage related or not. It's there so that you can level up, get better, offer more to your clients, and provide better service to all parties that are involved. And then you're building great synergy because you guys are I always follow it's called Kaizen, and Kaizen is a Japanese philosophy for continuous improvement for the better. Always looking for ways to improve your business to avoid redundancies so that you can continue to scale and grow, right? And that's what you're talking about. Live with the mentality of Kaizen. And we don't just change to change, we change because we know it's avoiding redundancy and leveling us up.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, so a couple more things here because you leaned right into it, and I know we're close to wrapped up. I think we're actually there, but I want to get to this. You offer a service. Your company is called Ask the Underwriter, and that's because you're not just an underwriter; you're actually a trainer now, right? So first things first, if somebody wants to acquire you for their services, who do you train? What does that look like?
So I train mortgage loan originators, I train loan partners, and I train processors. I train them all to properly pre-qualify loans. And I have a mentoring group that meets twice a week. And I have training material that trains you. So you can pair the two together, or you can meet in a mentoring group with us on a weekly basis. We meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, processors, this is where what Devlin and I were talking about last time about the processors like converging on me. Because at first I was kind of dealing with, originators and loan partners, and the processors were like, listen, enough is enough. We need to know. And so I created the P3 program, Process and Performance Program. And that's where you guys get to junior underwriter status. That's what I'm training you to do. I want you to be like the processors of old. I want you to be able to think. I want you to be able to teach other people. And I want you to be able to communicate with your lenders, the whole lenders, the account executives, and the under. I want you to be able to communicate with them intelligently. I want you to be able to package your loans so that they make sense. Like, I want you to be the processors of old. I'm not trying to go old school on you. I just want you to have that reputation.
Well, I love it. And what you said to me last time was when you know better, you
You
do
do
better.
better.
So I had to throw that out there. Well, and folks, if you're trying to find Dionne, you can check her out right here, right? So if you see scrolling right across the bottom of the screen, it's asktheunderwriter.net. Again, that's asktheunderwriter.net. And you can go check out Dionne, see what she offers, and you can schedule right there on the website. In fact, if you want to just go straight to schedule, like, you know what, I'm in. I need this service. I need to learn more. I need to teach and coach my teams. This is her Calendly. It's calendly.com/ask the underwriter. It's literally that simple. And you can be live in person with Dionne and scaling your business because, as you develop and grow your business to provide the best possible service to your consumers and your agents, you've got to make sure that you get the most important part down, and that's qualification. How do we qualify that client? Provide a pre-approval that we can stand out there and stand behind, and ultimately know that when it moves through the process, it's going to be a smooth and flawless experience. And we want to sweat that process. We want to do it the same way every time. So the experience that your consumers have is always just an amazing experience. And that's what Dionne teaches. She teaches you how to build that process through smart underwriting and building synergy with your team so everybody's on the same level.
Love it. You described it perfectly. Thank you.
So the final thing, let's leave a final note, right? So the folks out there that are tuning in or listening to this at a later date, what's the one thing that you want to leave us off with?
Forgive yourself. Give yourself some grace. There's so many moving parts to the mortgage industry. It moves fast. There's so many different documents. You're going to fall. You're going to make mistakes. If you don't learn how to forgive yourself, you'll get stuck in a moment. Don't get stuck. I think my son plays basketball. He's going to kill me for this. My son plays basketball, and someone told him to think like a goldfish. They said a goldfish only has a couple of seconds memory or something. And so, like, if he misses a shot or something, I'll yell out, "Goldfish mentality! Goldfish!" That's crazy. Have goldfish mentality. I made a mistake. Own up to it. I apologize. Keep going. Remember, so that you don't repeat it, but you can't live in that. You are not your
That's
mistake.
right.
Forgive yourself.
Well,
Keep
we learn
going.
from our mistakes. We
Yeah.
learn from the mistakes, right? If we don't have the mistakes, we're never learning anything. If it's always a win, we're never leveling up. And, more importantly, and you said this, and I think it's so important, when you have a mistake, own up to it, but don't wait. Don't wait. So many times I see originators do this where they've made a mistake. They know it's going to lead to something that's very difficult to deal with. And instead of tackling it and addressing what their client and their agent right away, they try to find the solution first so that they can come in and save the day. And the problem is that every minute or every day that you wait to discover that with your agents and your borrowers is a day of frustration for them, because what they're going to tell you in the end is, why didn't you tell me sooner? Why did I not know this before? And I know what you're looking for, loan officers. You want to have an answer first. No, I'm going to find an answer. I'm looking into this. I have everybody involved. We're going to try to find a way to get this to happen, but I wanted to give you an update so that you knew what was going on, and we're going to get through this thing together, right? And then find the solution, and then go out and find the solution. So fall on the sword, own up to your mistakes. We'll learn from those, get better. And if you want to get better without having to make the mistakes, jump on asktheunderwriter.net. Get out there and get some training with Dionne, and you're going to love that you did, because she's going to teach you how to put together those great files that perform and get closed with less conditions, smoother processes, and happier clients. So, guys, I think that's going to be it today. Thank you for stopping in. Dionne, would you come back again? Do a part 2 to this?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. I think we got a lot more. So if you want to hear more from Dionne, hey, DM me. Hit the messenger. Let us know what topics you want to know, and we'll bring her back in. We'll tackle those topics and get you off to a great start in the new year. So Merry Christmas, everybody. I think this is our last episode before the holidays hit, and we will see you next year. Thank you guys for stopping in. You've been watching Loan Officer Success Live, where real strategies meet real success. Don't forget to subscribe now and share it with your teammates, and keep leveling up, because your next breakthrough starts here. If this fired you up, don't just watch success, go out there and build it.